Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. This video is part of my end of the year content. In the next couple of weeks I will upload a ton of wrapping up 2025 and looking forward to 2026. So if you don't want to miss anything of that, please subscribe. I would love to have you here. But in today's video we are talking about all of the books I have bought this year. So this is my kind of 2025 book haul. Now, I will not mention books that I received as a gift because I usually shared them in some other video throughout the year. So those are out of the picture. We're just going to talk about the ones that I actually bought myself. Now, most of these are usually audiobooks. If you have watched my channel, you know that my big goal for this year was to reach a 0 TBR. So I tried to really limit my book buying. But then also Libro FM did have some really good sales. So yeah, you know, it's what it is. So let's get through the books that I bought in 2025. So I started out the year with a banger series, and that was buying Fool's Errand, Golden Fool, and The Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb. This is the second Fitz trilogy in the realm of the Elderlings, technically the third trilogy in the world, and these were great. Now, I don't know if I would necessarily recommend the audiobooks. I just started reading this series as audiobooks, so I'm continuing on, but I love this series so much. The Fool is probably one of my favorite characters of all time, so this series definitely put me through a lot, but yeah, it was just great, and I'm glad I started out the year with these books. Then the next book I bought was Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby. This is one of the 5 new to me authors I definitely wanted to read this year, so I started out with this one. I really enjoyed the audiobook. I think the audiobook narrator for S.A. Cosby's books is absolutely phenomenal, and if you want to do yourself a favor, you go out and buy these audiobooks because they are fantastic. This is a kind of thriller book where we follow a ex-getaway car driver who gets sucked back into the crime world. Then the next book I bought was specifically for the magical readathon spring equinox, and that was We Need New Names by Novailat Bulawayo. I did enjoy this book. I read this because it is set in a country that I spun with one of those random country generators. So this is a book about Zimbabwe, and in this book we follow our main character and the first half as she lives as a child in Zimbabwe, and then later on she migrates to, I think, Canada, and that is the second half of the book. Now, this is a very sad book because the recent history of Zimbabwe isn't very happy. There were a lot of terrible things that happened to many people, so the book definitely touches on that. Next we have Faithbreaker by Hannah Kaner. This is the third book in this series. I always forget what the series is called, but the first book was God Killer. I have not read this book yet. It is very high on my 2026 TBR now. So yeah, unfortunately I haven't finished that series yet, but I definitely do want to reread the first two to really get into the mood to finish this series off. And in this series we follow a God Killer who goes around the world to kill gods before they get too powerful, and then things just get way more complicated than that. Next up, I bought The Sky on Fire by Jen Lyons. Now, you can probably see behind me, I have the Chorus of Dragons series by Jen Lyons, and it's one of my favorite fantasy series, so I wanted to check out her standalone. Unfortunately, I feel like Jen Lyons' writing works better in a longer series than in a standalone, so while this was fun, I didn't absolutely love this one, and I would recommend if you want to check out this author, go with the series. And this one we follow kind of a world with dragons and humans, and the balance between their powers is kind of going to be shaken up a little bit, let's just say that. Then I bought another one of the series I read this year, and that is the Bone Witch series by Rin Chubecco. So I bought the Bone Witch, the Heart Forger, and the Shadow Glass. I did really enjoy this series. In this one we follow our main character who is a bone witch, so basically she can bring dead things back to life, and she is one of the like only people who have that power in her world, and because of that she starts to unravel a little bit of like the mythology and is like trying to fix her world. So now we're in the middle of the Libro FM sale I mentioned, and I also bought They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. This is kind of a thriller where you follow the murderer. In this one we have two perspectives, and we're following a woman who is a professor, but in her nighttime life she actually kills people who are nasty. Like, she kills nasty men. And then we also follow a student perspective as well. And I had a good time with this book. I definitely enjoyed it. It is like, yeah, a little bit gruesome, obviously, because people get killed, but I think that the storytelling and the twist and all of that was done really well. Then I also got Butter, Honey, Pig, Bread by Francesca Ekwuyasi. This is more of a family drama. We follow a family from Nigeria, and we follow mainly two sisters and then also their mother. And so we get told kind of their life's stories and also what kind of broke them apart, as now they are reuniting for the first time in a very long time in Nigeria and kind of starting to work through some of their issues. Now, this book was much more queer than I had anticipated, and I really love that. I think one of the sisters is gay, and the other one also has a queer friend that is like a side character in the book, and that storyline touched me so much. It was so sad. Yeah, I had a really good time with this one. Then I bought A Camp Damascus by Jack Tingle. This is a horror book that is also very queer. This one was a little bit surprising to me because I thought it would be more camp than it was. Now, Camp Damascus in this book is a camp for conversion therapy, and I thought we would like actually spend time there, but the book is not quite that. We follow a girl who is definitely attracted to other girls, but she lives in this very, very religious family, so she's trying to suppress that, but then she starts to be haunted by what seems to be an actual demon. Then we have Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby, the second S.A. Cosby book I read this year. Also absolutely loved this one. Now, I think the order, reading Blacktop Wasteland first and then Razorblade Tears, is a good idea because the main character in Blacktop Wasteland is still very likable. I think you really feel for this man who's trying to just be a good husband, a good dad, but struggling with money. In Razorblade Tears, we follow two dudes who are not likable at all because they both had gay sons. The sons were married to each other, but then they get killed, and now these two fathers who never accepted their sons when they were alive are going on a revenge spree. So they're not likable. It's still very violent, but I had a really good time with this book as well. Then I have two audiobooks I bought in that sale that I haven't read yet. The first one is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea by Rebecca Thorne. This is a cozy fantasy. I think this one follows an already established female-female relationship, but since I haven't read it yet, I can't really talk about it. And then we also have Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. This is a non-fiction book. I think it deals with the environment and kind of like what we can learn about dealing with the environment from like native ways to engage with nature, I think. Still haven't read it, so I don't really know. Then we get into the next series that I listened to on audiobook and absolutely loved this year. So we have Mask of Mirrors, Liar's Knot, and A Labyrinth Heart. This is the Rook and Rose trilogy by an author duo. They call themselves M.A. Carrick. Absolutely loved the series. It was so good. So in this one, we follow a woman who is trying to infiltrate this very wealthy, kind of aristocratic family, but actually the family has lost their wealth. So it's a lot of shenanigans, but I absolutely love the series and would highly recommend if you like kind of like fantasy with like There's a lot of dream magic. There is some magic that is similar to like tarot cards, and it has this like Venetian setting, but it also deals with like oppression of people. There's a lot in this series, and it's really, really good. The characters, chef's kiss. Then I went to Berlin in the spring and I bought 2 books on my trip there. The first one is Never Whistle at Night. This is a short story collection of dark stories by Native and Indigenous authors. This one I did have a good time with. I feel like it lacked a little bit in like the super banger stories, but they were all really solid. So it is a good collection. I would definitely recommend. And then I got The Just City by Joe Walton. I haven't read this one yet. This one has been on my wish list for many, many years, so I don't even remember much about it. However, I did read another Joe Walton book last year, Tooth and Claw, and I was absolutely blown away by that one, so I need to read more Joe Walton. Then I decided to continue a series, so I got Into the Riverlands by Niveau. This is the 3rd book in the Singing Hills cycle. In this one, we follow a monk who goes around and collects stories, and pretty much every book is a story they collect. And this one was very like martial artsy. We follow kind of like fighters, and I really liked it. I had a good time with that one. Then I bought one of my most anticipated books for years, and that is Silverborn by Jessica Townsend. And I'm sad to say I still haven't read it. I will not read it this year, but I will definitely read it as soon as I can in 2026. This is the 4th book in the Morrigan Crow series, so it's a middle grade, and we follow our main character of Morrigan Crow, who was always told that she's gonna die on her 12th birthday, but I think on her 11th birthday, she's actually taken away to this magical land, and shenanigans. I love this series so much. We have kind of like a sentient hotel that kind of changes your room to your desires. We have a big talking cat. It's just great. It's just really, really great. So I can't wait to do a reread of the series and then finally get to Silverborn. Then I decided to jump onto a hype wagon a little bit. Haven't read the books yet, but they're ready to go for next year. And that is that I got the Dungeon Crawler Carl, the first 3 books. So we have Dungeon Crawler Carl, Carl's Doomsday Scenario, and the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook by Matt Dinneman. Now, I'm really excited to give this series a try. The reason why I got the first 3 books, which without like listening to the first one, is that I canceled my Audible, but then every couple of months they will be like, hey, you can get back on with like 99 cents. So I did that, and I had like 3 of the credits, so I used them for these books, and then I signed off Audible again because I don't want to support Amazon any more than I actually have to, so I stepped away from Audible. Then next I bought Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in Mistborn Era 2, and this is going to be my big fail of the year because I was supposed to read all 4 books, but I have only read book 1, and then I just got swamped with my TBR reduction plans. But this first one was actually quite good. It is a lot shorter than the Mistborn Era 1 books, so I feel like it did a much better job. Also, this is more like Western inspired. You have like a lot of the traditional Western kind of story beats, like fighting on top of a moving train and stuff like that. So yeah, I actually had fun with this one. Then I bought Race the Sands by Sarah Beth Durst. This one I also had a lot of fun with. This is a desert fantasy where we follow this race with monsters, and we have a mentor and a mentee relationship. They're trying to win, but then they get sucked into a much, much bigger plot in this world, and they kind of have to save everyone. I got I Feed Her to the Beast, and the Beast is Me by Jamison Shea to prepare for my Paris trip that I did during the summer. This is a YA horror where we follow a black ballerina who is always much better than her like white competition, but doesn't get the same opportunities, and so she makes a deal with this like mysterious river of blood under the city of Paris. And it was really fun. I really enjoyed enjoyed that one. Then we have My Contrary Mary by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jodie Meadows. This is in the Lady Janie series. It's technically a sequel to My Lady Jane because, yeah, we're following characters that we've already briefly met in My Lady Jane, and we also learn about like the future of the characters from My Lady Jane. And this one was so much fun. I think this is a very, very specific humor. If you love it, you love it, and if you don't, you don't, and that's totally fine. I love it. This was my Paris book as well, because we are following kind of the French court, and yeah, it was great. I had a fun time with this one. Speaking of Paris, I obviously had to go to the famous bookstore Shakespeare & Co. And there I picked up 2 books. I bought Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin because I really want to read more James Baldwin. Haven't read it yet, but it's very high on my list for next year. And I think this is a story of a gay man, but it's not very happy, I guess. And then we have Somadina by Ekweke Emesi. This was one of my most anticipated books of the year. This is a standalone fantasy by the author, and in this one we follow Somadina, who has a twin brother. They live in this fantasy world that is heavily inspired by Nigerian culture and mythology, and this one, my hopes were sadly higher than what this book could actually do. And when I read kind of the author's note at the end of the book, it also talked about this being one of the earliest story that the author wrote, and it kind of makes sense. Like it doesn't feel quite as good as their like more recent books. They probably like really polished it up before publication, but it just still the story itself just wasn't as great as I wanted it to be. So it was still good, but it left me a little bit disappointed. Then for my Italy trip, I listened to Blood, Water, Paint by Joy McCullough. In this one, we follow the famous artist Artemisia Gentileschi, and this one is a very hard read. This is a YA story. It's told in verse, and it basically retells the story of this famous painter, the way that she is not really seen by her father. He doesn't really see the amazing artist that she is. He's trying to exploit her talent for his own gain, and then she also gets raped by her kind of artist mentor. And yeah, so it's not a happy story. It's not a happy story, but if you like the artist, if you like her paintings, then I think this might be worth checking out. So during my Italy trip, I also bought myself 2 books. I got Pictures from Italy by Charles Dickens. This is basically Dickens' kind of like travel diary when he was doing his tour through Italy. And the fun thing is that we visited pretty much the same towns, and so it was like very familiar for me to read this book. And I think if I would have had the chance to travel with Dickens, we would have complained about the same things and we would have loved the same things. So reading this book when I came back from Italy was just so perfect. It was just a perfect time and the perfect book for that, and I loved it. But it's like very specific. I don't know if you would enjoy it if you read it and maybe you've never been to Italy or something like that. And then I also picked up A Great Italian Stories. This is a short story collection, I think of 6 stories written by Italian authors, and I picked this one up because it has the English text and then also the original Italian text. And since I'm trying to learn Italian, I thought that would be a good way to try to read these books. So we'll see about that. I'm still trying to get through them children's books in Italian, so yeah. No idea when I will actually get around to reading this one in the Italian version. Next up, I picked up The Lamb to kick off kind of my October more spooky reading. This is by Lucy Rose. This is a horror book featuring some cannibals, so be ready for that. And we follow a young girl who grows up in a hut in the wood with her mother, and whenever people get lost in the woods and they knock on the door, the mother invites them in and they end up as a meal. This one was a solid cannibalism horror book. No complaints. Then I got Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling, another one of my most anticipated books of the year, and again, a little bit of a disappointment. Now, I absolutely love Yellow Jessamine by the author, and this book is very similar in the vibe. However, Yellow Jessamine is a novella, and this one is a full-length novel, so I feel like this was too long. Like The Starving Saints was just a little bit too long for me. I just felt myself like drifting off while listening to it quite a bit. So unfortunately, it wasn't a hit for me. Then I got The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. I did a witchy vlog around October as well. And this, I would say, is probably more of a like summary read. In this one, we follow a young woman who doesn't really fit into her environment. This is more like a historical England, kind of like Jane Austen-y feeling. And one day her grandma shows up and she's like, hey, I'm a honey witch, you're a honey witch too, so I will take you to this very remote Irish island, and there I will teach you how to be a good witch, and it's all about that. So this is also a sapphic story. However, for most of the book, nothing really happens, and I really enjoyed that. It was like lots of vibes, not a lot of plot, but then the ending was just way over the top and like too crazy for me, and the balance was just off, unfortunately. Then I bought Lucy Undying by Kirsten White for my vampire vlog that I did in October as well. And this one we follow kind of like an alternate story for Lucy Westenra, who in the original Dracula story is turned into a vampire by Dracula and then murdered, basically, before she can do a lot of harm. But in this retelling, it isn't actually her that gets murdered, and so she has a full vampire second life. And I had a good time with this one. Now, I know that not a lot of people love this. This is not a very like traditional vampire story. It does have kind of like a quite modern twist to it, but I really enjoyed that. And I think the kind of like little twists and all of that that was brought in there was very fun. So I had a good time with it. And now we're getting into the kind of Christmassy reading. So the first book I bought was Cooking Up a Christmas Storm by Amelia Berry. This is a Christmas romance where we follow a character who's really down on her luck, but then she gets a job that like her ex applied for the job and her ex got the job, but she pretends to be her ex to get the job, basically. And the job is to go to the Scottish Highlands to this cookery school and basically be their kind of like media manager and stuff like that. So it was really cute. I had a very, very good time with this one. It didn't have quite the like Christmas stuff that I wanted, but it was a fun story. Then I got Under the Mistletoe with You by Lizzie Huxley Jones. This is a book that I kind of missed out on last year, so I definitely needed to read it this year. Lizzie Huxley Jones is my favorite holiday romance author. I loved Make You Mine This Christmas, and so I needed to read their second book. And this is really cute as well. It is a love story between a guy we already know from the first book, Christopher, and this trans guy called Nash. And Nash is a movie star, and I love movie star stuff in like my holiday romances. So yeah, I had a great time with this. This has a lot of also like community stuff because this whole town gets really snowed in, and it's set in Wales as well, which I think is a little bit unique, and it was really, really cute. Then I bought A Christmas Ghost Story by Kim Newman. This is a horror story set around Christmas. In this one, we have a mother and a son who again live kind of in a remote area. The family has owned this house for a very long time, and we have these mysterious Christmas cards addressed to the son that start appearing. Now, I think I like the idea of this book more than the execution, but I still felt like it had interesting like spooky vibes for the holiday season. And then the last two books that I bought for this year, the first one is The Christmas Tree Murders by Andrea Hicks. This is a, I think, 1920s mystery series, like probably more like cozy mysteries that I wanted to try. I want to do another one of these like 1920s mystery series vlogs, so I'm going to read that for that one. Haven't done it yet, but this is going to be the next audiobook I pick up. And then I also got The Six Deaths of the Saint by Alex E. Harrow. This is a short story. It's very, very short that I think is only available as an audiobook on Audible. Maybe they also have an ebook version on Amazon. I'm not sure. But yeah, again, I had like one of those like 99-cent deals. And then on top of that, they also gave me a €15 coupon. And so I used that that to buy this because, yeah, I always feel weird spending like actual money on an audiobook that is less than an hour. But I have heard that this is actually linked to the new Alex E. Harrow book that has come out this year, so that's why I want to check it out. And with that, we have come to the end of this video. So this should have been 44 books that I bought this year, and as you've seen, I have read most of them, so I'm very proud of that. And with all of the ones I haven't read yet, I'm very happy to get to them next year. And yeah, I hope this was entertaining and fun. If you have any opinions on any of these books, definitely let me know in the comments down below. And also let me know what was your favorite book that you bought and read this year. I would love to hear about that. And I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!